Good, thank you.
Okay, so, can we move to our summary?
Yeah.
Actions? Let's see. We have a discussion with, later, on the complex at 3:30. It's only quarter to 2.
Joanne Bondage is
It's coming at 3:30, yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what that was.
I had one question, that
Oh, reports, I guess.
we're signing something to transfer the money from the stuff built from the jail fund. It was about $1.5 million.
Yeah, if you remember, back in, I think it was mid-September, we transferred the sheriff's general fund monies to the state.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, they wanted everything at once to be transferred over, and then they changed their mind because these were all the grant funds that were left. Some of them had negative balances. They weren't sure how they were going to deal with, when the grant was made. There are always reimbursement grants, so you spend the money, then someone sends you a check, whoever the authority is. So they weren't sure how they were going to deal with that. Now they've made their decision. They just want all the funds transferred to us.
So that explains why we're doing it now, we hadn't already done it.
That's right.
Okay.
So I did notice, I think there was one, maybe two that had a negative fund balance, so when we get the reimbursement from them, we'll just pass it on.
Maybe a fund or just a small?
I had a couple of other questions. The amendment with the town of Mashpee for mitigation funds for nitrogen reduction, is that a Cape Cod Commission request, or is that something we do through the Department of Health?
Sounds like it was I have to look at it, but it sounds like it was the mitigation is all Cape Cod
It's all Cape Cod Commission,
It's all
that's what I
Cape Cod
thought.
Commission, yeah, so.
Okay, well, then, if that's what it is, there's another one too, and I was assuming they're all.
The only reason I do want to look, because I want to know
There's
why.
one on transportation too, with Yarmouth.
Those, near the bottom? What number?
It should be on the top.
One's 4 and one's 5.
I think that's
One's
okay.
Mashpee, one's Yarmouth.
Well, I was going through that. I think that that's some remarkable work in that report.
Oh, yes, I thought it was very well done, really, Peter Carlson's report.
Yeah, this is for, the Board of Selectmen is requesting your approval of distribution up to $3,000 to cover the cost of a firm's participation in these nitrogen management plan workshops. That's what that's for. That's a nasty one. And it sounds like this Yarmouth one's probably similar.
Mitigation funds can only be expended for the purpose of mitigation is blanket. And we have to be very, well, Cape Cod Commission is very careful. Because when I sat on it, they were very careful to make sure that it was indeed expenditure, because it comes in requesting that to put it to general fund. And,
Yeah, that's what you're giving them permission to do, is to use that mitigation money for those specific purposes that they requested.
Okay, so with that, you can make a motion,
I move that we
execute the
execute
summaries.
these summaries.
Okay, I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
Reports. Reports from the commissioners. You have?
Yeah, I went to the Cape Regional Transportation Authority today. They've made progress on e-bus. Overall transportation is up from last July, 11% across the Cape. It's up 22% in December. So more people are using the bus. That's a really good thing. We've got a bus stop out here at the complex, a shelter, so people can be out of the rain when they're waiting for the bus to pick up.
Yeah, just newly built.
Newly built, right?
I don't know how we paid for it.
They
Nobody sent me the bill.
They
Yeah.
were not able
No,
to
it's,
transportation funds.
It's from the Regional
Excellent.
Transportation
Oh, thank
Authority.
you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I thought of that right away. I thought of all of the people that are using and trying to get to the courthouse and having trouble finding a parking place. We now have transportation that they can come and,
All our smokers are now smoking under the shelter.
well, they're staying out of the building, aren't they? Barnstable doesn't have a rule on a ban on smoking outside.
We do, actually. We can't, you can't smoke within a certain number of feet of the building. You have to do it across the street.
Thank you for sharing that, Maggie. The purpose of the bus stop is to
I
keep
know.
people dry while waiting for the
That's
bus.
right. It's great that we have a nice shelter there. Excellent.
So anyway, we've got that, and let's see.
Cape Selectmen's meeting, want to talk about that?
You were there. We can talk about that.
I wasn't there.
Since you are one.
Well, it was all about the county charter review.
Wow.
And Fred Gechter was there, who's the chairman, by default, as he claims. Nobody else wanted to be chairman. But you mentioned earlier the timeline, and they do have a pretty onerous timeline. And apparently, there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not the Charter Review Committee should recommend doing away with the assembly. Because there's been, in fact, I think they've had a lot of discussion about that.
Yes, they have. I watched that.
And so that was, that probably dominated a lot of the discussion.
And what was the consensus of the group?
That it would, well, and the other piece to that is increase the commissioners from 3 to 5. And that that 3 would be elected by district, that the Cape would be divided into 3 districts, Upper, Middle, Lower Cape, and the other 2 would be elected at large. And then with 5 commissioners, there would be more input, I guess, if you will, more deliberation. The more people you have, the more you deliberate. Everybody has to have a
Well, so they say.
So they say. And if you had 5 commissioners, then rather than having an assembly of delegates with elected members from each town, that you would go back to the Finance Advisory Committee
ABCE.
that was mostly made up of selectmen, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be. It could be people from the from finance committees in the town. Rationale behind this being that that the selectmen feel very frustrated that their assembly members are elected by the people, and there's no mechanism for them to communicate with the selectmen, or with the town. That I'm just giving you their
Oh,
impressions.
I know, I hear you.
And they think, now there is one town where they have their Assembly of Delegate member come in on a regular basis, like every 3 months, quarterly, and reports to the selectmen. And it's a very small town, and they're pretty happy with that. But by and large, the selectmen feel that the assembly member is not necessarily connected enough to the town to actually represent the town. They also talked about the weighted vote. I mean, it takes 5 people from the larger towns to actually affect a majority vote. So they also talked about the one person, one vote, and whether or not constitutionally in this state, if you could even have a town with, 55,000 or 58,000 people only have one vote. So,
Just a question, that vote would be on the ABCE, because if you're a
That's
commissioner.
advisory.
Right, what's the point?
No, you're
No, I'm talking about
Changing
about the
voting
assembly.
Oh, so now we're keeping the assembly, but changing the voting
Well,
powers, okay.
Yes, that's
Sorry,
right.
you lost
Keeping
me.
the, okay.
Sorry.
Keeping if you were to keep the assembly, they
Right.
think that it should not be a weighted vote.
Got it.
That it should be a
And I
one
agree,
vote per
I think
town.
we looked into this with Mark. Didn't somebody
I
ask?
believe.
Yeah, and it wasn't
The answer is
possible?
No.
Right.
Because you have to have it based on the population
On
or
the
something like
population,
that.
not on the input of the money, it's on the amount of people that live there. One man,
Right.
one vote means if there are 55,000, there are 240,000 people,
No, you could do.
and there are 55,000 people in Barnstable, then that percentage of the total population is what represents.
Which was all the more rationale for not having the assembly. The other rationale was that now that the sheriff has moved off to the state, that our connections with the state are now even less than what they were before, because the sheriff had a strong connection with the state, because some of his funds came from the state, or a significant amount of money came from the state. So with the sheriff,
I disagree.
Well,
No,
this isn't for us to agree or disagree.
know.
This is what they're talking about.
This is selectmen, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that now there's a little more of a disconnect with the state because the sheriff has gone to the state, and now we're more of a regional government. So therefore, with that in mind, if we did away with the assembly and had a finance advisory committee that was made up of selectmen, it would help cement the county's connections with the towns, because it would be the selectmen advising the county commissioners, and there would be more of a county-town connection. This is some of the thinking that's going on in the group, which, you have to say, they're thinking pretty far out, which is
So,
good.
just for the sake of discussion.
Yeah.
What would, is that that's a charter change? That's a requirement to go to the voters?
Mhm.
No, well, actually, elimination of assembly in the charter, 2/3 vote of the assembly is required.
Mhm.
So they have to vote themselves out,
By 2/3.
and then it has to go to the voters?
Oh, yeah, it's to voters, and it's, since it's a structural change to the government, it's going to the legislature.
Ooh.
I'd
Three
add that
steps.
when the League of Women Voters heard about this,
Mhm.
they got quite upset. And the reason why they got upset, at least the League members that I was talking to, was that the Assembly, as elected representatives of the town, are independent of the selectmen. And it was a feeling on the part of the person who's talking to me that if the selectmen appointed the assembly member, then the assembly member was no longer independent and able to act regionally, and would essentially be a parochial wasn't the word that was used, but it would
That's
be-
the word.
That's the word. And that one of the objections, in her opinion, that the selectmen have is the very reason why they are independent, which is
Control them.
their ability to act independently, because clearly, if they're representing, the power comes from the appointing authority. If they're appointed by the selectmen, they do the selectmen's bidding. If they're appointed by the people, then they're just supposed to do the people's bidding. And these reports that they talk about going back to the selectmen, those of us who served in the assembly recall that when we went back to report to the selectmen, it was to report on actions that the assembly was taking, and to get and to share and to request opinions, but not necessarily to get guidance for future actions. But in what I would call pure communication, this is what's going on at the assembly, and if you have something that you're hearing that you want to have something done about, you do have some responsibility to respond, as all the constituents. Of course, the other value going back to reporting to the selectmen on a regular basis is the selectmen's meetings are broadcast, and quite a few people watch it, because I remember when I used to go back to talk to the selectmen, you get somebody to stop you at the supermarket or something like that and say, well, what's going on here? What does this mean? So there is a need for the assembly members to go on a regular basis to the selectmen, and I think that might move in the direction of the communications link. I think we all want to feel as though we're controlling things. And I think that that's one of the concerns that the selectmen have, is that are they really in a place where their interest is paramount as opposed to
Finish your thoughts, but briefly.
Well, I think the other thing too
We can
is,
take a break.
when they vote on a budget, are they representing the town, or are they not representing the town? So we'll take a small break for our take change.
Thank you.
So, are we going to come in at 3:30?
3:30.
We're going to...
In county business.
Oh, here, you mean?
Right.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll end up this discussion right now, and then I just have one more thing to talk
But
about.
in any case,
Yeah.
We're back.
All right, to kind of wrap this up, the other issue is the time frame. That they really have not been able to do any outreach with the towns because they haven't been able to get to that point yet. So what it was suggested by one or two members who were there was that they make whatever necessary changes need to be made in the charter relative to language. Apparently, there's some real issues with the language, and some other more, very specific changes, and then continue the charter committee, and then they come back again in 2 years and finish up the really detailed work of doing the charter review. That's what was suggested by the selectmen. So we'll see what happens from the charter review committee. The other thing I wanted to report on was that Mark and I visited the dispatch center at the sheriff's place yesterday. And I have to tell you, if you haven't been there, it is really worth visiting, because the whole CMed issue that we've been dealing with all this time, and with the fire chiefs that have been doing, when you actually get in there and see how the whole thing operates, and the amount of equipment that's in there, and the technology to make all this happen, it's just incredible the way everything comes together there. Mutual aid, ambulance, the hospital, emergency rooms, doctors, it all fits in very, very clearly. It was a very good, a good thing to do, and I'm glad I went, and we were able to see it together.
Communication,
Yeah.
the fire station.
So you have a big county business you want to take up with us?
Yeah, I just want to go back to that.
To
So
that.
I think, I guess to close the loop on the CMed, we probably need to revisit with our state delegation and find out where we are with them. The sheriff had some specific notions about how he saw this working. I guess the only thing I would say is it wasn't maybe clear to me, and this maybe goes back to the audit question, exactly what proportion CMed makes up of the total communications piece. You know what I mean? I'm not sure exactly how you would calculate that, because we've heard various numbers kind of floating around, 33,000 calls or whatever they are for the CMed. What total, I don't know.
Well, he said they had 100,000 calls a year,
Yeah,
approximately. That's a lot more than 33,000.
it's a lot more, yeah.
Yeah.
are we waiting for the outcome of an audit of that?
Well, there will be, yes, and we don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but I think from what I'm hear from Senator O'Leary's office and
Right.
Senator Murray's office, is that they're looking to us to create an ordinance. And so, but in order to do that, we have to have more information, and having been there, how can you possibly determine what the cost to the county or the fire chiefs or the towns of this service really is until A&F does some sort of an audit?
Exactly.
Although what the sheriff was saying is, well, Jordan Hospital contributes, what, $250,000 a year to CMed in the county of Plymouth. And so why doesn't Cape Cod Hospital just contribute, and Falmouth Hospital
Is that,
contribute $250,000 here?
isn't that the question we raised earlier, that the Jordan Hospital, the 250,000 that they contribute, is that for the whole of Plymouth County, or is it just for the calls that come into the town of
Oh, I
Plymouth?
think it's,
I think it's for the whole, because that's what
I
they
think it's the
contribute.
whole
That's their
Plymouth County.
contribution.
well, they're the only, they're not the only hospital for some of the towns further up the line.
There's Toby and there's...
Toby
Toby's
actually is
part
under
of-
this.
is under the Barnstable
Okay.
County.
Yeah.
Although it's in Plymouth County.
It is, yeah, but it's
But
under
it's
our
under our-
communications.
Who?
Brockton Hospital.
No, that's in the
That's in
Bristol
Bristol.
County District.
Oh,
I believe it is,
Yeah.
so it's only Jordan Hospital that's in Plymouth County that comes under this?
Mhm.
Interesting.
So, well, I'd be happy to kind of begin the draft of the ordinance process. That
Okay,
was
I
for
think that's a good thing.
Developing the trustees committee, or
Yeah.
whatever trustees group that we were going
The
to put
oversight
together.
group.
And then I think that was commissioner, hospital person,
And fire chief.
And a fire
A
chief.
fire chief.
We
Mhm.
really can't go forward until we have some figures on money, because we go with the ordinance.
Well, at least we can get going on an
No, I mean,
ordinance, so
I'm
what it would
not
look like.
objecting, but
Start
I think
drafting,
that we really have to have something in hand that gives us some degree of confidence as to what kind of money we're asking for.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're gonna have to take the
That's
money out
right.
of something else within this.
Well, I
budget.
mean, this is a question,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be, right now is not a good time to be approaching towns to pay.
And
So
yet,
it's
there
gonna
should be,
Probably.
I think the thing that really needs to be researched a little more is why couldn't the towns who bill for ambulance service, why they couldn't tack on? I know that there is a bill that bill goes to Medicare for the most part, or to private insurance carriers for the ambulance service, and they only pay so much. But why couldn't there be, in addition to the bill for the ambulance service, a bill from the town for something that would then go to help pay this? I think we need to look into that. It can't be called ambulance service, but it can be called something, communication,
Right.
charge, or whatever, I don't know. I think we need to
Well,
look into
I know that
that.
when we go, when we
Like
go to a hotel,
$10
you get charged for
or
having
$5.
phone in the room, if you use it or not. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen that charge. So, perhaps we need to have
Yeah,
something.
but insurance, of course, doesn't pay.
Well, I think,
Well, that's
I think
what
the
we-
bottom
Those are
line
separate
is
billing.
you would need special legislation to allow a town to tack on a fee for the communication.
Communication costs,
Fortunately,
yeah.
it's a federal law that generates the payment for Medicare. So we'd have to have a federal law change. I think that the way Senator Leary explained it to me was that you'd have to change the federal law in order to allow for reimbursement.
Yeah.
from Medicare.
Plus, there's all that other money. Does it come from Verizon, that 911 money?
The PSAP money,
The
yeah.
PSAP money, yeah.
He's already counted that, though.
Well, we don't know what that is, though, do we?
It's like, I think it was like
800?
750,000, somewhere around there last year, if I remember my numbers correctly. He's already counted that, though.
It's already counted.
He's already spent that.
Do we need
He's
some
already
sort of
spent
a resolution or a motion to move this forward?
that. I don't think
We
so at
already,
this
yeah,
point.
not at
No,
this
no, I
point,
don't
no.
think so.
We already agreed to do that once before, to develop
In
a,
a related matter, I had been talking to one fire chief who was concerned about the fire training academy, which is kind of related to this.
Mhm.
And his concern is that we would support it in this budget. I told him that, from my point of view, I think it's an important service and it's certainly worthy of supporting. I don't see where we'd be able to charge, in my opinion, charge to the towns for them sending people to the fire academy for the same reasons we could not charge the towns for supporting or they're not in a place where we could charge them for supporting the communications thing right now. So this is all concerns that seem to be coming from the community about things that we're in process of looking at.
well, those would be additional charges. When you think about it, isn't the county assessment to the town supposed to include the fire academy?
Oh, it does.
Cost?
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
does.
does.
So you don't want to necessarily have
Well, I
to
think that we need to sort of
review that.
not review it, but reinforce that with the fire chiefs, that we're not intending to take that away and add additional charges to the town, which would stop the training that
Well, when
we're using it for.
when we get the final budget bill,
That's why I said,
we'll see.
Anyway, these are, I think that,
Oh, yeah.
that's why I'm bringing up because that's what we're hearing.
Deal with that. I got that from Felicia the other day.
Oh, yes. The EDC has another vacancy on their roster, and they are recommending that we appoint Alice Boyd of Harwich. She is a grant writer.
Well, I know
She's
Alice
known
Boyd. She knows-
all over
Well, and I know-
for her
And
extraordinary
that's something that I
capabilities.
don't have to whine about not knowing.
Is it your vacancy?
Huh?
Is it your vacancy? That's what it says there.
commissioner's vacancy?
No, it says your vacancy. It says your vacancy. That's the
Mine?
part I don't
Should be
understand.
Oh, I guess it's, yeah, because they never really appointed anyone to fill my vacancy from last year.
No, that's
So
not-
it was my seat on the
I have to
EDC.
check that.
I
Right?
know. I'm not sure that's right. That's what I
Really?
didn't understand. So you're still on the EDC.
No, I'm the commissioner's
She's the
liaison.
commissioner's
to the
appointee.
Now the
executive.
other one.
See, they assumed that I was there in my same seat. That's why it was never
I'd have to look at
filled.
the list to see if we have a
Okay,
vacancy.
let's pull that. and We don't need to do that right now. We'll put this
But
back.
Alice Boyd would be
Okay.
a choice.
To do list. Yeah, if you could, yeah. Okay, if we can take care of it today, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be really good if we could do it today.
Oh, wait.
Well, we have to
Hold
wait
that
and make
vote.
sure there's a seat.
I can have another vote for you that I would request.
Oh, and I might mention that I met Brian Manning.
Oh, good.
National Grid, through Colonial Gas, has asked for a grant of easement. They are trying to hook up the house, the Latham School, the vacant house up on the hill, I'm trying to point in the right direction, off of Railroad Ave with gas. And the best way to do it is off of one of our connections. So can I ask you to vote contingent on John Blaisdell identifying a satisfactory location, he was working with them right now, to approve the easement hookup for the Latham School?
How big an easement is it?
It's, their original proposal was to go right through the parking lot. See, the trailers are up here, this is the gym, and it was to go right through there. And John says, no way, there's a gas line right here, we'll go right off of this one.
Okay.
So it's much shorter.
Definitely, because the parking lots are all kinds of problems.
Exactly, you don't want to go through the middle of the park.
Thank you.
So John's working with
I'll move that.
Okay.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
And that's contingent on identifying a satisfactory location. Terrific. I have another vote. Would you vote to approve the use of the Orleans Court building for a relay run on the weekend of Friday, April 30th through Sunday, May 2nd?
We've done this before, right?
This one we haven't done. This is a 13 relay event. They're going to set up a few porta potties on the very corner of the Orleans Court building, and then over where the rail trail thing is, they're going to have to set up a checkpoint and stuff. So, actually, I'm not even sure that's on our building, but the porta johns will be on our property.
And they'll take responsibility.
They have to provide a certificate of insurance. They have to do all that stuff. Yeah.
I'll move that.
Thank you.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion
Thank you
carries.
very much. I have a supplemental, and let me just tell you what's in the supplemental. There is some computer equipment in it. I have $10,500 for new servers. Those will help John. Remember we had the server issue with the backup. We lost our email, we lost our phones. So, and I think this fits into what Peter is doing in terms of the backup. That's what I mentioned earlier. So he's got some money in there for servers. He's also got money in there to do the local area wiring for the old jail for George. So we've got both some wiring and equipment in there to get the old jail set up so that the health department can occupy the old jail facility. I have $10,391 for electricity and heat and BCI, $11,500 in electricity and heat for the old jail, and $2,000 in terms of electricity for the Children's Cove. We were a little short on the Children's Cove budget. The old jail we did not fund in the existing budget, so if we're moving George in there, we're going to need electricity up there. And BCI, John's kept it heated pending the Cape, Open Cape program because it just doesn't want to go too bad. So we've been paying the electric bill and heat bill on that one as well. I have included $50,000 for the assessing study, and I did do, as I said, a draft scope of services. So I don't think we should maybe talk about that, discuss it today too much. Why don't you take that, I'll give a copy to Meg, and I will send it to you electronically. We can kind of scope that out a little bit more when Sheila's here as well. But I did include $50,000 for the regional assessing study that the Lower Cape Towns have asked us for. I have included $10,000 in terms of auditing the sheriff's accounts. I'd like to have our auditor do a full audit on the sheriff's accounts now that he's gone.
Is this an
State.
exit audit?
It's an exit audit, a transfer audit.
Good thing to do.
And it would be a not to exceed amount. I don't know if that's how much it would cost, but, and I need about $10,540 for unpaid bills. I've got 2 bills outstanding. I have a telephone charge bill that was actually for state-associated telephone charges. It's an old bill. It was in a dispute for a couple of years. I finally just said to John, pay the bill, and we'll put it on the state's rental reimbursement piece, because that's what's going to happen anyways. And then I need a little bit of money. I got a bill for the sewer charges. Remember, we're hooked up to the sewer system at the Pocasset Senior Living Center. The sewer for the AmeriCorps building is hooked up to them. I got a bill. Unfortunately, they bill on a calendar year, so they've included half of the funds from last fiscal year, so I need a little bit of money to help cover that. So I've got $10,540 for unpaid bills. Then there are two other supplementals that I need that are from special revenue programs. One for the septic betterment program. George is hiring a new clerk to help him do billing, and so I've included
Is there a
20.
replacement?
No, it's a new position. He's
Second.
putting in a second position to help Angela do the billing. He's going to move Angela up a little bit, give her a little bit more responsibility, and then he's going to hire, I believe, a part-time clerk to help with the billing piece on that. We kind of knew that was going to come. This would come out of the septic betterment program revenues from the septic betterment fund. So that's covered. That's a total for salary and fringes, $20,347. And finally, Section 3, we need a supplemental for the dredge fund, and again, that will be supported by dredge revenues. I need about $100,000 to cover dredge repairs and fuel for some additional work that they're doing this fiscal year. So the total is $248, $278, of which about half is coming out of special revenue funds, and the general fund amount of about 120 some odd thousand will be funded out of the 2009 statutory reserve.
Lou Cataldo was part of this. Moving into this building. That section as well.
We don't need any money that I know of right now. Lou has some money. He actually just called me today. He's not doing sound so well. I guess he was sick, unfortunately. Poor Lou. But he was going to make arrangements to go with John up there and bring his associate up there and take a look at the new plan that we have. Basically, what we're putting, John, is if you know where the stairs are, when you enter the main jail, there's a room right below there, has some window access. We were going to cut an entryway right into the room for him there. So hopefully that will satisfy Lou. So that's the ordinance. I would ask you to sign that and bring that over to the assembly.
I think it's pretty clear. I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All right, so I just need you to sign it, and then we'll bring a copy of that over to the assembly.
Is that today?
That would be today, yeah.
Do they vote on things if they just see them for the
No,
first time?
there's an ordinance, so there's a process.
They'll have a
They'll have a
hearing.
public hearing, they will probably do that in 2 weeks, and either they'll vote on it that week or 2 weeks subsequent. Just on the FYI side, we also had a meeting last Friday with the Falmouth League of Women Voters, and we worked on our program for County Government Day at Highfield Hall in Falmouth. It's Saturday, April 24th.
Saturday when?
April 24th, 1 to 4 p.m. There was a number of departments there. George and Bill and a couple others were there. Stacy was there from the Children's Code. We asked them to kind of put together, a little program, what their needs are for a table and displays and all that. We're going to talk about this and finalize it at our staff meeting next month. And so we look forward to it. It should be a really
That should be good.
day. So we're working on that. That is out there. On the other FYI, I did get an anonymous letter from a citizen in Sandwich, and he's got a complaint about 2 dogs barking. So I did call.
Any dogs?
Well, he's read chapter 140, section 157. Well, actually, I think the gentleman is reading it wrong.
Yeah, you have to kill
It
someone.
basically says, the selectmen in the town, the dog officer, or the county commissioners. But I think the proper, and Bob Troy's on vacation this week, but I think the proper way of reading it is if there's none of those other things, then it would fall to you. But there are those other things. So I did call Bud Dunham, and I know they are aware of it, so.
He's on too.
He's on vacation, it's a school vacation week, so, but we will make sure that gets engaged as much as we
Yeah,
can.
that statute's over 100 years old on dogs.
Well, Pat, there was one.
Never been amended in over 100
Well,
years.
Remember, we had a dog, and this was a few years ago.
Ate
It's the only
somebody's
time
goat.
it's happened. He killed a goat or something.
We had to reimburse them.
And we had to pay him $50 because there's a statute on the books that says if a dog kills a goat, State
Yep.
County pays him $25.
We actually got
Don't take it out there too
Mark.
much. But.
Mark,
If
do
a
you
tree
remember
falls in the forest
Mark,
and
do
we
you
don't
remember
hear
the
it, it's
Orleans
really a
kennel
tree.
and the barking issue? We got dragged into that too, I don't remember.
No, I don't remember. No.
I do, because it was, on Finley Road, I remember that one.
No, I don't remember that one. So yeah, there's these old statutes on the books that people have not, they've been on the books for 200 years
And
when
that would get my.
that was our prime function, was to pay people back for goats and stuff. Hopefully that's not what our prime function is now. And just two other FYI things. February earlier this month, I never got to tell you, I did file a recovery zone bond report. Of course, you remember we issued or allocated our $8.5 million to the Forestdale project. So
Any photo ops involved with that?
not yet, but maybe in the future. Before November, I guess is what you're asking about.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was.
And then finally, Bill Clark and I did meet yesterday with Congressman Delahunt's staff, and so we are working on some potential funding for the ARC. It would be a short-term funding program for the shellfish hatchery over in Dennis, and to provide some shellfish support for the local towns here in Cape Cod. So we're doing that as well. That concludes my report.
Okay. I was just listing the number of people on the EDC, and I came up with 8. And I think there's 9.
Well, we,
There's 13 altogether, but the others are representatives, like
well, there's three.
County
there's three
Commissioner, the
non-voting.
Cape Cod Commission.
There's 3 non-voting, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the Commissioners,
Commissioners.
the Cape Cod Commission,
Right.
and the Assembly.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 3 of those.
I thought there were 14.
Do you have the list, or did you not get it?
Thought it was 13.
There is a vacancy.
There is.
There is a vacancy,
Yep,
yeah,
so
just
they can want to move to appoint Alice Boyd.
Okay.
That's a recommendation.
There you go.
move to appoint Alice Boyd.
I'll move that.
I'll
Alright.
second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. What a great addition.
Oh, yeah, she's terrific.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting when you have 3 new members like that, how the dynamic changes. And it's just really good.
Do you still have stuff, Mark? I just have a couple.
No, I just
So the other
included my
one,
stuff.
I went to the GCPC hearing at Mashpee.
Mashpee?
Yeah, excuse me, at Wixon and Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Nobody
Showed
from
up.
the public showed up.
I know. I heard that.
One.
One?
I think it was at least one, it might have been 2.
Ooh,
Her name was Bonnie Hempel.
I thought she was a reporter.
No, she's a private citizen.
Oh. There was one.
What do you need?
The supplement.
Oh, I gave it back to
You
you.
get it back to me.
Yeah.
Well, that was basically what I wanted.
I had 2 HR issues, so that's all.
Okay. You have things, Mark?
Yep. That was in here.
Thank you. For executive session?
I have one executive session, one is
Why?
an F1,
What
because
is
it's a
the
vote
purpose?
on family medical leave.
Okay.
And you have one for open session?
Yep, I do. I have here for you Beth Albert, our Human Services Director's resignation. So she is resigning effective April 30th of this year.
Wow, that, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrific.
And then I do have a very quick executive session vote on an FMLA. So I would move that somebody, one of you make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing the medical leave request of an employee to return to open session.
We need a roll call vote.
Wait a minute. I don't think we have any more business.
No, we do. We have Joe at
We have
3:30
some
having a...
You can recess after that if you
We're
want.
recessing.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, so I will move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing something in the FMLA.
And
And I'll
come back in.
second that, so roll call vote.
Doherty, aye.
Glenn, aye.